In today's episode of Today in World War II, January 18th, this the Finnish general of the division that had just wiped out two Soviet divisions gets his reward. Go destroy another one. Air raids on Malta increase in intensity and focus, but the Maltese were in for it this time. The Luftwaffe successfully flew its first jet fighter for the first time with jet engines. That's a pretty significant event. The Soviets, speaking of significant events, the Soviets open up a corridor finally to Leningrad to relieve the siege of Leningrad that lasted over 900 days. The U.S. government, in a strange decision, banned sliced bread for some reason. And finally, a 19-year-old Scottish soldier was the youngest soldier in the war to be awarded the Victoria Cross for his heroism above and beyond the call of duty. Let's get started. Okay, so on January 18, 1940, General Silaswol got his reward for destroying two Soviet divisions, the 163rd and the 44th Division. He said, "You know what? Good job, man." Mannerheim, the Field Marshal Mannerheim said, "Okay, now we want you to go 30 miles south and destroy the Soviet 54th Division." By the way, the 54th Division was no easy nut to crack. The commander, the general of that division was Chuikov. And who was he? Well, if you are a student of World War II, especially the Eastern Front, especially Stalingrad, you'll come upon his name more and more as this series goes on because he was the commander of the forces actually inside Stalingrad itself, fighting hand to hand, room to room against the German Sixth Army. That was his division. So he was no spring chicken. He was no, uh, I guess I had to put this. He knew his stuff. Okay. And it was going to be a hard nut for the Finns to crack against him. I think the Finns were getting a little bit overconfident here. And if you look at this, the war only lasted 90 days. They were 6 weeks out from not surrendering, but suing for peace to have an armistice to at least keep most of their freedom and most of their territory. So overextension, maybe, very possible. But you can never be overextended when you subscribe to my channel. The reason why, you can reach it. You don't overextend your arm. Just reach out, hit the subscribe button, click the bell. You'll get notified whenever I drop a new video, and that way, and it's also because you are going to be a member of my secret club. So that's kind of cool, right? You'll be my subscriber. So I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much. On January 18th, 1941, air raids on Malta increased in intensity and focus. What does that mean? Well, they didn't send just the Italians anymore. The Luftwaffe had transferred some Fliegerkorps air divisions, if you want to call it that, in our air group, bombing group, and fighter groups. They were coming against um, against the RAF and the Maltese citizens with ME-109s to take out the fighters, and they were bombing, 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 and all respect to the Italian Air Force, they were good. They had inferior, more obsolete planes. They were not known to press attacks low enough to be accurate. They were masters of the high altitude bombing runs, not so much going down to the ground, down to the deck to do dive bombing, which is what the Germans would do and did. Uh, you know, it makes you wonder if the German priorities had been a little more realistic. You know, going after Malta would have been a huge step forward in their ability to win the war, at least in the Mediterranean, at least knocking Britain out. Taking out the Suez Canal would have been very hard, a hard blow for the United Kingdom to overcome. So, that's how important Malta was. And While this was good if you took a look at it from a German perspective, it was a good decision, but it was still half measures because as long as Malta was in UK hands, as long as it had submarines there and it still had a working Air Force, the troop ships, the merchant ships, the supplies to Rommel in North Africa were never going to be safe. Okay. But don't get me wrong. Nothing bad is going to happen to you if you click the like button and leave a comment on this video. You know, you're not Malta. No one's bombing you, okay? So if you could just do that, that would be amazing because it will help me get my feed out to more people. I know there's World War II nut jobs like I am, and they just need to see this in their feed, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I've come home." Right? You can help that happen, so I appreciate it. On January 18th, 1942, look at the date. Early 1942, the Germans first did a successful test flight of their Me-262 jet fighter. Whew. Imagine if they had the vision and didn't have a former corporal in World War One that was the commander in chief of their state as well as their military, who knew the value that would be to dominate, to regain air superiority in Western Europe and hell, Eastern Europe too, against the Soviets, but especially against the bombers on the Eighth Air Force. But nope, he didn't support it. The fact that it got deployed at all at the end of the year, towards the end of the war, was a miracle of that the Germans were able to get around that, but never enough quantities to do anything. So put that right up there in the top 10 blunders that Hitler did in the or committed in this war. Okay. On January 18th, 1943, Operation Spark, which had started about 6 days before, was where the Soviets were finally able to successfully open a corridor into Leningrad on this day. Over 900 days of siege. How many poor women and children, citizens, starved to death? Not to mention, being shelled and bombed every day for that long a period of time. I have nothing but awe for the residents of Leningrad. We have our political differences, but you know what? I love a Russian woman. I have two half Russian kids, and I fully respect how they fought against the Nazis and their contribution of all the Nazis they destroyed on their front. So kudos to them. On a slightly less serious note, on January 18th, 1943, for some reason, the U.S. government decided they were going to ban the sale of sliced bread. I don't know if it was because they thought there was going to be some kind of savings involved, or if people in the government finally got tired of hearing that cliche, "It's the best thing since sliced bread." I don't know. I suspect it was a bean counter who somehow decided that, well, if we can save on wrapping material, uh, if we don't have sliced bread. Well, eventually, public outcry and protest won out because just a couple months later in March, they rescinded that order. Now, I have it on good authority that when they rescinded that ban on sliced bread, that was the best decision they had made since the invention of sliced bread. Wah, wah. Viewers, I apologize heartfeltly and sincerely to bread, sliced or otherwise, and consumers of bread for that last joke. It was inexcusable. On January 18th, 1945, the youngest man in World War II won the Victoria Cross. It was a Royal Scots Fusilier, Dennis Donini. He was in action in the Netherlands, and he was only 4'10" tall. Can you believe that? But that just goes show you, just to show you, it's not the size of the dog; it's the size of the fight in the dog. He had been hit in the head by a ricocheting bullet, and despite that, he charged a German position, destroyed it with grenades, and he was wounded in the process as well. Um, and in order for his comrades to outflank a second German position, he stood in the open and blazed away with his Bren submachine gun until he was hit by a chance bullet. It didn't hit him and kill him. It hit a grenade in his hand that he was about to throw, which triggered the grenade to go off, and of course it blew him up. But he was awarded the Victoria Cross for that, and of course he did, and he should have. So what bravery, what bravery. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I will see you